You clicked on this video for a reason, and I have a feeling it's not just curiosity. Maybe your doctor handed you a list of foods to avoid, and rice was right there at the top, circled in red. Maybe you've been eating rice your whole life, at Sunday dinners, at holiday tables, every single week for as long as you can remember. And the idea of giving it up feels like giving up a piece of yourself. Or maybe you've already cut it out, and you miss it more than you'd like to admit. Whatever brought you here, I want you to know something right from the start. This video is not about telling you to stop eating rice. This video is about showing you exactly how to eat it, so that your blood sugar stays in control and your body stays healthy. That's the real conversation we need to be having. Not can seniors with diabetes eat rice, but how should seniors with diabetes eat rice? Because there's a massive difference between those two questions, and the answer to the second one might completely change how you think about this food you love. I want you to hold on to something I'm going to tell you near the end of this video. Something that most people, even people who have been managing diabetes for years, never hear from their doctors. It has to do with timing, not just what you eat, but when you eat it. And once I explain it to you, you're going to look at your entire daily eating routine in a completely different light. But we'll get there. I've spent a long time in this space. I've read through hundreds of research papers, clinical studies, and nutritional analyses, specifically focused on how the aging body metabolizes carbohydrates, because, and this is important, the way your body handles blood sugar at 65 is genuinely different from the way it handled it at 40. The research is clear on this, and most of the dietary advice floating around out there was not designed with that difference in mind. That's part of why so many seniors feel like they're doing everything right and still struggling to keep their numbers stable. It's not your fault. You were working with incomplete information. That's what we're going to fix today. I've put all of this together into what I believe is one of the most practical, evidence-based, and easy-to-follow frameworks for eating rice without spiking your blood sugar. Every single point I'm going to share with you today is backed by science, and more importantly, by the real-life experiences of real people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who have tested these strategies and seen them work. Hold on a second. Before we go any further, I've put something together for you. It's called the Glucose Paradox. It's a free guide on blood sugar and diabetes, and you can grab it for free through the link in the description. I'm telling you this now because I want you to finish this video with a concrete tool in your hands. To get it right away, just click the link in the description, head over to my site, and drop your email. You'll receive the guide in your inbox a few minutes later. But I don't want to take up any more of your time. Let's get back to the video. Let me introduce you to Margaret. She's 71 years old and lives outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Her family is originally from the Philippines, and rice has been on her table every single day for her entire life. When she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 3 years ago, her doctor told her to eliminate white rice completely. Margaret tried. She substituted cauliflower rice. She tried quinoa. She even bought those odd little shirataki noodles that looked like something out of a science fiction movie. None of it felt right. None of it tasted like home. And about 8 months in, she gave up on the substitutes entirely and just went back to eating white rice. But now, with a side of guilt and anxiety, every single time her fork touched the plate. What Margaret didn't know, what nobody had ever explained to her, is that the problem wasn't the rice itself. The problem was how she was preparing it, what she was eating it with, how much she was putting on her plate, and when during the day she was eating it. Once she learnt those 4 things, everything changed. Her fasting glucose dropped. Her post-meal spikes became barely noticeable on her monitor. And she got to keep the food that made her feel connected to her family and her history. That transformation started with something called the cooling method. And it sounds almost too simple to be real, but the science behind it is absolutely solid. When you cook rice and then refrigerate it for at least 12 hours before eating it, a chemical transformation happens inside those grains. The starch, which is normally a fast-digesting carbohydrate that sends glucose rushing into your bloodstream, begins to reorganize itself into something called resistant starch. Think of it like this. Regular cooked starch is like a wide-open highway. Glucose travels straight from your gut into your blood in a matter of minutes. But resistant starch is like a long, winding country road full of speed bumps. Your digestive enzymes can barely break it down. It moves through your small intestine mostly intact and ends up acting much more like dietary fiber than like a carbohydrate. For Margaret, this was the first piece of the puzzle. She started cooking a big pot of basmati rice on Sunday afternoon, putting it in the refrigerator, and then eating it in small portions throughout the week. She reheated it, and here's something that surprised her when she first heard it. Reheating the rice after it has been chilled does not undo the transformation. The resistant starch is stable. It survives the reheating process. So she could enjoy warm, perfectly cooked rice at lunch every day, while still getting the metabolic benefit of that slow, gentle glucose release. Her numbers over the following 6 weeks told the story better than any words could. But the cooling method alone wasn't the complete answer. Because even resistant starch, eaten in isolation, can still push your blood sugar higher than you want it to go. This is where the second principle comes in, and it's one that I cannot stress strongly enough. You should never eat rice by itself. I want to tell you about a man named Gerald. He's 68, a retired high school football coach from Georgia, and about as stubborn as they come when it comes to changing habits. When his doctor first suggested he start pairing his rice with protein and healthy fats, Gerald looked at him like he'd suggested he start wearing a tutu to the grocery store. He was a meat and potatoes, meat and rice kind of man. He ate his rice the way he always had, a big scoop on one side of the plate, maybe with some gravy. That was it. Then Gerald's daughter, who works as a dietitian, sat him down and explained it to him in a way that finally clicked. She told him to imagine his digestive system as a drain. When you eat plain rice, she said, it's like pouring water straight down the drain. It rushes through. Glucose hits your bloodstream all at once, and your pancreas has to work overtime to respond. But when you add protein, chicken breast, a piece of salmon, a couple of scrambled eggs on the side, and a healthy fat like a drizzle of olive oil, or a few slices of avocado, it's like mixing that water with something thick and slow-moving. The whole digestive process slows down. Glucose enters your blood gradually, in a steady, manageable stream, instead of a sudden flood. Gerald started putting a 4-ounce piece of grilled chicken and half an avocado alongside his half cup of chilled, reheated basmati rice every weekday at lunch. Within a month, his A1C reading had dropped by a full point. His doctor asked him what he had changed. Gerald told him, and for a moment, the doctor was genuinely speechless. The half-cup portion is not an accident, by the way. Even when you apply every single one of these methods, the chilling, the protein, the fat pairing, the amount of rice on your plate still matters enormously. A half cup of cooked rice is the sweet spot. It's enough to feel satisfying, especially alongside a proper serving of protein and fat. But once you push past that amount, once you pile the plate with a full cup or more, you overwhelm the body's ability to manage the glucose load, even with all the other strategies working in your favor. The aging metabolism has less insulin sensitivity than it once did. It can handle a manageable input. It cannot handle an unlimited one. This might sound discouraging to some of you. A half cup feels small. I know, but I want you to think about it differently. A half cup of perfectly prepared basmati rice, chilled and reheated, paired with a beautiful piece of grilled salmon and some roasted vegetables drizzled in olive oil, that is not a deprivation meal. That is a delicious, satisfying lunch that supports your metabolic health, keeps your energy stable all afternoon, and lets you continue eating a food you love without fear. Speaking of basmati, let's talk about the type of rice, because not all rice behaves the same way in your body, and this is a distinction that genuinely matters. Rice is measured by something called the glycemic index, which is a scale that tells you how quickly a food raises blood sugar compared to pure glucose. The lower the number, the slower and more gentle the rise. White short grain rice, the kind used in sushi, in many Asian dishes, in a lot of standard American cooking, sits at the very top of that scale. It digests extremely fast. For someone managing blood sugar, it is the riskiest choice. If you've been eating short grain white rice regularly and wondering why your numbers never seem to stabilize, this may be a significant part of the answer. Basmati rice, whether white or brown, has a notably lower glycemic index than standard short-grain white rice. The long, slender grains have a different starch structure, more of what is called amylose starch compared to amylopectin, and amylose digests more slowly. When you combine Basmati's natural lower glycemic load with the cooling method, you're stacking two independent blood sugar slowing mechanisms on top of each other. The result is a grain that behaves very differently in your body than the rice you may have been eating for decades. Brown rice, any variety, is always preferable to its white counterpart because the bran and germ layers are still intact, adding fiber, vitamins, and a slower digestion rate. Some people find brown rice harder to digest as they get older, which is a real concern. If that's you, Basmati white rice prepared with the cooling method is your best alternative. And then there is wild rice, which is technically not rice at all, but a semi-aquatic grass native to North America. Wild rice has more protein per serving than any true rice variety, around 6 to 7 grams per cooked cup, and a significantly lower carbohydrate content. It has a rich, nutty flavor and a firm texture that holds up beautifully in salads and grain bowls. For seniors who are especially focused on keeping blood sugar low while still eating satisfying hearty meals, wild rice mixed with a small amount of basmati is an excellent combination worth exploring. Now I want to tell you about Dorothy. She's 74, a retired school teacher from Ohio, and she had been doing almost everything right. She was using brown rice. She was keeping her portions to a half cup. She was pairing her meals with protein. Her morning fasting glucose was decent, but her evening numbers, the readings she took after dinner, were consistently elevated, and she couldn't figure out why. When we went through her food diary together, the answer was immediately clear. Dorothy was eating her rice at dinner. Every single night, rice was part of her evening meal. She thought she was doing the responsible thing. She was keeping portions small, eating it with protein, using the right variety, but she was eating it at exactly the wrong time of day for her biology. Here is something that most people never learn, and it connects directly to that surprising fact I promised you at the beginning of this video. Your body's sensitivity to insulin is not constant throughout the day. It follows a rhythm, a circadian rhythm in fact, that is tied to light, activity, and the natural hormonal cycles that govern your physiology. In the morning and through the middle of the day, your insulin sensitivity is at its peak. Your cells are ready to accept glucose efficiently. Your muscles are more active and burning energy. Your pancreas has an easier time managing whatever carbohydrates come in. But as evening approaches, something shifts. Insulin sensitivity begins to decline. Your body starts producing more melatonin, signaling that sleep is coming, and the hormonal environment is no longer optimized for processing glucose. When you eat rice at dinner, the glucose from that meal hits a system that is less equipped to handle it. The spike is higher, the clearance is slower, and because you're about to lie down and stop moving for 8 hours, there's no afternoon walk or household activity to help your muscles absorb that excess glucose from your blood. For Dorothy, the fix was almost absurdly simple. She moved her rice from dinner to lunch. She kept everything else exactly the same: the brown rice, the half cup, the protein pairing. Within 3 weeks, her post-meal glucose readings had normalized. The numbers she had been struggling with for over a year responded to a single change in timing. Lunchtime is the biological sweet spot. You have the morning's insulin sensitivity on your side. You have the entire afternoon ahead of you to move, to walk, to do the light activity that naturally helps your muscles pull glucose out of your blood and put it to use. You have hours of waking metabolism standing between you and bedtime. Eating rice at lunch is working with your body's natural rhythms. Eating rice at dinner is working against them. When you bring all of these strategies together, the cooling method, the protein and fat pairing, the portion control, the right variety of rice, and the intelligent timing, you are not making a small, incremental adjustment to your diet. You are fundamentally changing the way that rice interacts with your body. You are taking a food that, eaten carelessly, could drive your blood sugar in the wrong direction, and transforming it into a food that your metabolism can handle gracefully, even at 65, even at 72, even at 80. Let me walk you through what this looks like in practice, because I find that seeing the whole picture at once makes it much more real. On Sunday or Monday, you cook a pot of Basmati rice, or long-grain brown rice. You let it cool to room temperature. Then you put it in the refrigerator. Over the next several days, at lunchtime, you scoop out a half cup, reheat it, stovetop, microwave, however you like, and you build your meal around it. A palm-sized portion of protein, chicken thighs, canned salmon with olive oil, a couple of hard-boiled eggs, a piece of pan-seared cod, a healthy fat, olive oil drizzled over the rice, sliced avocado on the side, a small handful of walnuts in a green salad alongside the plate. Vegetables, if you enjoy them, they add fiber and volume and make the meal more satisfying without adding meaningful carbohydrate load. That lunch will hold you. Your energy will be stable through the afternoon. You won't experience that heavy, foggy, reach-for-the-couch feeling that comes with a blood sugar spike and crash. And when you check your glucose 2 hours after eating, you will very likely see a number that surprises you pleasantly. Margaret sees it now, Gerald sees it, Dorothy sees it, and I believe if you apply these 5 principles with even modest consistency, you will see it too. There is something quietly powerful about reclaiming a food that someone told you was forbidden. Rice has been feeding people for 10,000 years. It has been present at celebrations and mourning, at first meals and last meals, in kitchens from Osaka to Lagos to Manila to Savannah. The idea that a diagnosis strips you of the right to participate in that history, that you must sit at the table eating your cauliflower imitation while everyone else enjoys the real thing, not only unnecessarily harsh, it is, based on the evidence we've just walked through together, simply not true. You don't have to give rice up. You have to learn to eat it wisely. And now you know how. You know what the problem is with diabetes and high blood sugar. Most people find out way too late. And by the time they do, they have no idea where to even start. That's why I decided to create a free guide. It's called the Glucose Paradox. And inside, you'll find everything you wish you'd known sooner. I'll explain how blood sugar actually works, and why your body sometimes reacts the exact opposite way you'd expect. That's why it's called a paradox. I've also included concrete habits you can start changing right now, even if you know zero about nutrition or medicine. It's free, you can download it in a second, and it might be the single most useful thing you do for your health today. Just click the link in the description to head to the site, drop your email, and get the guide sent straight to you. Don't put this off.